welcome to another episode of the Palace Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts.
The middle of the 15 to the 20, breaks free of the 25 to the 30, to the outside, 40, midfield, 40, 30 of the coast, 20, 15, Hester 5, touchdown Bears!
All right, what's up, Palace Huddle? Should we wrap, Bob? Huddle up.
All right. Hold on. That was brutal. I mean, it's not just remote, but it's like a new pairing. All right, here we go.
Ready? Huddle
up. All right. Okay. All right.
We're just going to accept it. We're going to accept it.
We
I
don't
feel
have
like we're really close to the camera, but
yeah, I'm not sure what that's about either. But
so this is the Palace Huddle, and I was a little thrown off by the intro. I don't normally get to be a part of the Hester intro, so
yeah.
No Rob.
It's good vibes to start.
Yeah, no Rob this week. He is off on a family vacation, enjoying life. Even as a Bears fan, it's possible to enjoy life, it turns out. But so I'm Justin Oniemi with Bob Weiss, and we're happy to have you guys on the Palace Huddle on a midweek episode where we're going to talk news and noise, as we always do, and look forward to the San Francisco game. Look forward to a game.
I know. Hopefully something. Well, we'll look forward to the first 58 minutes like usual, and then hopefully the last 2 minutes is different.
Tides are going to change, right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. So before we get too far into it, we always love it when you all like and subscribe. We have reached and exceeded our 700 subscribers. So on December 15th, although I looked at the schedule, and I don't know if that's actually an episode day, because I think the Bears play a Monday night, but around mid-month, we will be doing our drawing. So
yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's Monday night against the Vikings. So probably that Monday night recap show will be the drawing.
So, it's for a jersey of your choice. So please subscribe. We have another sponsor. We'll get into that later, maybe when we talk a little bit more about the game. So I think since I'm new to this, I really love the news or noise segment that you and Rob do every week, Bob.
It's fun.
I love it. So do you want to toss out maybe one for us to start with, and we're going to try to do maybe three of them?
Yeah, that works out for me. All right. So, for you guys listening for the first time, we're going to say a statement. News it's absolutely true. It's worth talking about. Noise it's just nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. So first one, the Bears' mishandling of the Eberflus firing will negatively impact their search for his replacement. News or noise?
I always struggle on this, Bob, but this one I'm not struggling at all. This is news. I think when we talk about the mishandling, let's start with the fact that Eberflus being fired, it was a very obvious decision. And I just was wondering when it was going to happen. I mean, playing Thursday, not just Thursday, but Thanksgiving, you kind of thought, don't fire a person on Thanksgiving. So I assumed I'd wake up Friday morning already with an alert somehow saying the Bears have released a statement or something. Then we know he meets with the media after a game, 9 a.m. And it's like the clock is getting closer and closer to that. I hadn't heard anything. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? You let him meet only to fire him a couple hours later. And then when asked about it the next day, or not even the next day, you needed 3 days to get up in front of a mic after that, you basically say, yeah, we hadn't made the decision yet. We were just talking about it. So if you thought the conversation you were going to have could have led to him being fired, you at least postpone that. And to more directly answer the question, the reason I think this is news is being an NFL head coach, you're one of only 32 people who get that title. It's a highly coveted thing. And they always talk about this fraternity, and the way you look to the league, the way you look to other people matters. And once again, the Bears look like they don't know what they're doing. And I think it could impact the search. We'll talk later. Maybe the search is going to be very close to where you're at right now, and in which case it might not hurt it as much. But if you even lose one potential good candidate, then that's already troubling. You could have prevented it. What's your thoughts, Bob?
So I'm gonna go noise. A couple reasons I'll go noise, but first I just kind of expand on a couple things you touched on. First, like we don't want to fire a coach on Thanksgiving, or you got to be respectful of Matt and his family. This whole thing, like I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, but like Matt Eberflus and his family are going to be fine. He's getting all the money for the rest of his contract. If anything, the stress levels in his life just went from 98 to 12. Like Matt Eberflus and his family are fine. So if we stop this, let's be respectful of the family. Like, yes, name getting drugged through the mud is not great. He was trying his best. He just wasn't that good. Like, I understand all that. But, like, Matt Eberflus is going to be fine. All right. And the second thing is absolutely we're talking. I'm not saying it's noise because the Bears didn't mishandle this situation. They absolutely mishandled the situation. They had the 9 o'clock press conference scheduled. They knew they had the 9 o'clock press conference scheduled from before the Detroit game was played. It's not that hard to just reschedule that press conference to 1 o'clock. And if you truly respect your head coach and truly respect it, you say, hey, Matt, it's not going well. We're about to go discuss your future. We'll let you know at about noon whether you're coming out at 1 o'clock for the press conference or not. It's a clear and direct, honest conversation with your head coach. It's a clear and direct, honest representation to your fans that you're talking about it. And then at 1 o'clock, the decision comes out. It's not that hard to just handle it competently where everybody's in the loop. And it just, so even with the complete bungling of all that, it's noise because one, kind of a joke situation, but at least the coach coming in knows that he's got to royally F up before his job security is in jeopardy, right? It's got to look even as bad as Eberflus has or worse for it to be a problem. But the other reason is noise. If you touch it on in kind of the other way, like I'm going to say, there's only 32 of these jobs, okay? And, the Bears' historic lack of success is definitely one thing, but this is a legacy charter franchise. There's Bears fans everywhere. They travel everywhere. And if you're a head coach, you've got an ego already. So I don't think you're thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to be another one in the line of Trustman, Nag, Eberflus? Like you're thinking, I'm legit. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be the next Ditka, right? Like that's what I think you're thinking. So even with all of this stuff, like, I think you're looking at it as an opportunity for you to come in and be the man. That's the way I would hope that, an alpha personality leader that we want is going to view this opportunity.
I completely respect what you're saying, but actually hearing what you just said makes me even want to further double down on news, because now I'm even thinking of it from a different perspective of it's obvious to you, it's obvious to me how they should have handled this. And they chose to handle it so much worse. And so if something that simple is not in their capability, how is finding this very critical, important piece to your future puzzle going to look? And so it's almost like it just reveals again that their decision-making and their process is problematic. And this process needs to be pretty much flawless, I would say. I mean,
right. Before, they cannot get this one wrong, or they can't afford to get this one wrong. Exactly. They have to get it right. And so I get that. And it's just the other thing, we can go back and forth all day about this. The other thing is how many of these other organizations, maybe the Bears are incompetent or showing lack of competence. How many of these other available jobs are with a completely competent franchise? People are lining up to go to Jacksonville.
Right.
People are lining up to go to, I don't even know which jobs are you want to, what's that?
Saints, I believe.
Yeah, Saints, the Jets. I mean, the Jets are fired too. Saints too. The Saints are an interim coach. The Jets are an interim coach. I mean, it's
you're right. I mean, if there's a vacancy, there's
a bad option.
For a reason.
So.
Well, I'm the one on the very last show we did saying that I do believe this will be a very attractive job, and it's a lot because of Caleb Williams, who, when you were saying what you were saying about the mindset of a guy you'd want coming in for this job. It's kind of like how Caleb Williams was like, I don't care what the records are for the Bears because you better get out of Penn. I plan on.
Well, was the last time they had a Caleb Williams?
Exactly. So the next coach, you pointed out a low bar to clear, and hopefully whoever it is does.
All right, let's go on to the next point here.
Okay. Yep.
Second one. It's been rumored that Matt Eberflus wanted to let go. Ryan Poles wanted to let go of Matt Eberflus after the New England game, but instead they just let Shane Waldron go. So when that happened, though, Ryan Poles should have resigned the minute he was told he couldn't fire Matt Eberflus when he wanted to.
All right. I'm going noise for a few reasons. One, I don't think that's a feeling I would project onto Poles for for that reason. I mean, he doesn't want to give up his paycheck or his job, and he's in this, I think, for the long haul to see the Bears win championships. But the other reason I'm kind of feeling this way is I suspect he already knows he doesn't have as much authority as we think he either does or should. Going all the way back to his own hiring, where they already said, here's a menu of your limited options, choose from this. And then he comes out saying, oh, I definitely wanted Eberflus. He's been my guy from the beginning. Well, is that the case? And something like this shows he's still answering to people above him. And we've known this. So I definitely think that's noise. I don't think it should have been a surprise to him. I think they should have done it even earlier than that. But here we are. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I'm going noise as well. For mostly the reason you said, I think Poles knows the exact situation he's in, and just this press conference that we just had, I think finally it's obvious to the rest of the world. Like they basically came out and said it. Like previously, George has said he's a football fan, not a football evaluator. We had Ted Phillips say he doesn't meddle in football situations, and then here you have the president of the team coming out and saying, we had to have a discussion as an organization about whether we're going to retain our head coach or not, right? That's coming out and saying that not all football decisions are solely Ryan Poles. And I think Ryan Poles is well aware of that. The other thing is there's only 32 of these jobs. He's got one of them, major market. He's made so much progress from when he started to now. He's just going to walk away because of something he already knew full well, right? And I'll just kind of go the other thing about this press conference and watching the body language between Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. It was very much tail between the legs for Ryan Poles. It was very weird to kind of see him in that kind of pose. And like the vibes that I got from it was very much like, it's as if like the media was like, the principal and teachers, and like Poles was the kid and Warren's the parent, and like Warren's got to come in and try to like save face, and like Poles is ashamed that he made a mistake. But like, it was those kind of vibes. But I mean, the thing about, especially being in education, like, Rob's wife's a teacher, my wife's a teacher. Like when you have those situations and your kid's acting up or whatever, it's almost always because of the home environment. And Kevin Warren is like responsible for the home environment that Ryan Poles is making these questionable decisions. Right. And so it was just like, it was just a tough watch to see both of them. Like I think Poles would have preferred to have been more honest with the answers, but again, Kevin Warren was just kind of spouting nonsense, trying to exude confidence from a position of weakness, and it wasn't the prettiest thing I've ever seen.
Which, when you're a Bears fan and have seen it as long as we have, we don't want to hear that.
Right. We've seen it over and over and over again. You never got the next one right.
Yeah.
Like at this point, the best we can hope for is like a magical year, a magical Nagy first year, and then do it again in 3 years after that.
The seats are full. So, all right, one more of these.
Yeah. So this is another, big talk this week. I've heard that removing Thomas Brown from offensive coordinator will negatively impact Caleb Williams' development.
All right. So do you think you know what I'm going to say, Bob?
I don't, because I've already kind of gone on a little bit on our last episode about it, but I'm really not sure where your head's at.
All right. Because I'm going to surprise myself here and say that this is noise. Okay. Even though prior to Eberflus being fired, weeks ago, when we were already going through the mental exercise of what this would look like, we were talking about who would be the interim. And I won't speak for Rob because he's not on the show at the moment, but I definitely said, you already saw a little bit of progress by promoting Brown to offensive coordinator. And that's already a new voice now in the ear of Caleb Williams. And it seems like it's going well, so don't disrupt it, was kind of what I was thinking. But now, given more information, hearing Thomas Brown speak more and more and more, and knowing that he still will be calling plays and he still will be a big part of what's going on the offense, specifically with Caleb, I actually feel like this is his chance to take over the full operation. There's many coaches out there who lean one way or the other, offense, defense, and specifically when you have a young quarterback, you need to have somebody who he's connected with. I feel pretty confident that Thomas Brown will be able to maintain that connection and hopefully build similar connections with others, but without impacting negatively the one with Caleb Williams. I guess it's just hearing more from Thomas Brown, feeling more confident in what he's about, makes me think that this is noise, which surprises me.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say news, just because I gotta stay consistent with my position on this, and it's not that I don't think Thomas Brown could be an adequate or fine interim head coach and a candidate for the replacement next year. I understand why they promoted him. It's just it's not an ideal scenario still for Thomas Brown in this head coach audition he has, and so you have this non-ideal audition that could lead to faulty decision making in the offseason, all potentially the risk of removing 100% of his focus on the offense. I know he's still going to be focused on the offense. I know it's probably more of an on paper thing that now the wide receivers coach, Chris Beatty, is now the offensive coordinator. I'm sure their actual roles in terms of game planning and practicing is still going to be very similar to the last 3 weeks. Like, I get that and I understand that. But there's no way Thomas Brown can still be as singularly focused on Caleb Williams and preparation during the week as possible. And secondly, he clearly wants to call the game from the press box. That's where he chose to go. And he even said it in his press conference on Monday that he joked that like he wasn't going to be the first interim head coach ever to head coach from the booth. He thought that would be too much, right? So that's something that's on his mind. So are we still going to get the same type of adjustments and real feel for what the defense is trying to do with him calling plays on the sidelines? So those are the things those are worried about, am I saying it absolutely will be a negative? Like, this is news or noise. You got to be binary. I said noise. Like, there's avenues where it's going to be just fine, and Caleb Williams is able to overcome and work with the same people he's worked with all year. I get that, but I don't think that this is some slam dunk, obvious, no downside situation.
And I realized after hearing you answer that it was you and I who were on the side of this not being the wise move, and Rob was the one saying no.
Rob was the one that we wanted all. I mean, again, I understand the thought process behind it. It's not like I think it's some insane proposition. I just don't think it's without considerable downside.
And you said it very well. I am and was on that side for quite some time. It's just I'm building my confidence towards Thomas Brown with each passing moment. So I think that's actually
his last two press conferences have just been awesome. Monday one was awesome. Today was interesting. I don't know if you watched today's. Like, he kind of like went off the cuff a couple times. That was kind of weird. It's like, all right, I guess it's good you're showing a little personality or content, throwing some humor in there, but like it was also unnecessary. So, but it was good though. I'd rather still have a guy so direct and serious, but knows that he can lighten the mood at any time. Like that's
another thing that Tomlin does, by the way.
Right.
He's a very serious dude, but he'll throw it in every once in a while. So
right.
Anyway, hopefully we have the clone. So, all right, so we're going to take a break. Please enjoy these ads. And on the second half, we're going to go into some specifics on Bears-Niners. All right, we are back. Hallis Huddle midweek episode, looking to preview Bears at San Francisco 49ers. We all knew the end of the season was going to be some challenging teams. And on paper, San Francisco is like one of the top teams you're going to ever want to face. But this season, maybe there's a chance. Before we do that, just want to mention one of our sponsors. We have a sponsor, BetStamp, where you can get involved in wagering, of course, responsibly. For that, please go to, I lost it, Bob.
Oh, so what?
signupexpert.com/huddle. I hope I got that right.
I think that sounds right. I knew the /huddle. I was sure about that part.
Sorry about that, everybody. But it will show you best deals in your area for first-time users, and it will help support our show. So later on, when we talk about our picks, Bob's always good to kind of look at the lines, and this is a very interesting one, I would say.
I know we didn't have a Lions preview show, so I'm glad I didn't have to get it out there, but I was confident in this over, that Bears-Lions over. I was so sure of it. And
there you go.
Most brutal miss this year.
It was a lot brutal about that game. So before we get into everything with the actual matchup itself, one thing that's always important to look at is the injury report. I'm going to talk about the Bears, and Bob will lead us through San Francisco's. But one thing to just kind of look at here for the Bears perspective is you do have kind of a mini bye situation since you did play on Thursday, Thanksgiving. So ideally, you think that would help you. Although when you look at this list here, there are some concerning names. So I would highlight it here. First of all, Ryan Bates and Roshan Johnson, both with concussions. Those are very serious, as we all know. And it's Wednesday, so it's early, but those things can sometimes take time, even though you're on this week and a half kind of situation. Some big names to look at, though: Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and DeAndre Swift all did not participate today. I'm hoping that this is just, you had that little mini bye and you're just giving these guys just that one little extra day, but it's still concerning to see their names on there. Darnell Wright left the game, and that final snafu at the very end of the game, we know, was with Orem getting destroyed on a right tackle. But from what I hear, Darnell Wright, even though it did look quite serious, was able to participate in a limited fashion today and should be on pace to be available. We saw, what was it, 3 weeks ago, or when they didn't have either of their tackles, how important they were. So hopefully he will be on pace. And Coleman Shelton was a limited participant as well. So I do hope that, you learn more as the week goes on. Thursday and Friday, obviously, we're shooting this Wednesday night. I'm hopeful that the Bears are going to be the healthier team.
I mean, even with this Bears injury list, the Bears will be the more healthy team. Thomas Brown did say today that our injury list is lengthy, but nobody's been ruled out yet. So he's still keeping the cards close to the vest a little bit, but there's a little bit of hope there that nobody's been ruled out for the Bears here. Moving on to the 49ers. Part of the reason we do this preview show is because maybe not everybody is following the league pretty closely, but the 49ers, were Super Bowl favorite coming into the year and are currently sitting at 5-7. And that struggle of a season is almost exclusively due to injuries. They've been dealing with injury to Christian McCaffrey for the first part of the season. He finally came back a few weeks ago. But he went out with a knee injury last week, has been placed on injured reserve. Their backup running back also got hurt in that Bills game and got put on injured reserve. They're also dealing with several starters on injured reserve from their defense. Javon Hargrave got put on injured reserve in September. He was a huge free agent signing a couple years ago that I was interested in Bears in looking at. Their Pro Bowl safety, Talanoa Hufanga, has also been put on injured reserve last week. He's eligible to return this week, but it's not likely that he's going to play. Brandon Ayuk, standout wide receiver, got put on injured reserve several weeks ago. So they're just banged up. Their star left tackle, Trent Williams, is listed as questionable, and he's also dealing with, unfortunately, some pretty severe family trauma. So I know what he's going to be dealing with. Nick Bosa, their star defensive end, is questionable, did not practice today. And the list goes on and on. These are Pro Bowl caliber players, right? The 49ers are one of these teams that can send, 9, 10, 11 players to the Pro Bowl, and like 7 or 8 of them are injured reserve and not playing, right? So this isn't the same 49ers team that we thought we were going to get to at the beginning of the season. And not only that, like, it's clearly wearing on them. The fight that they just don't have it. They're just not competing at the same level they used to. So this is the right time to get this team. So maybe we can get into the game preview a little bit, but
it reminds me a lot of when you played the Rams.
I was going to say the same thing.
And they're both another NFC West team, but on paper and their coaching staff and everything, but you looked at who they were missing and just thought,
it's like Bears are going into this game with a stronger roster, essentially. I mean, the only thing that kind of gives you pause is it's a road game, and this is basically do or die for the 49ers in terms of making the playoffs, right? So if there's going to be an uptick in their effort level, it is because they're fighting for their playoff lives.
True.
But with that, I started looking at, so what are the San Francisco 49ers beat reporters saying about their own team? I think that gives you a little bit more insight than what we might think about them. And the sentiment that we're getting from The Athletic and ESPN is this goes back, that reminds them very much of their 2020 team, where they were coming off a Super Bowl appearance in 2019, and the season got off to a rocky start. There were injuries, and then it was just basically an ugly, effortless, slow slog through the season until it was finally over. And that's the vibes I'm getting from the 49ers beat writers about this team. So,
I don't want to do lazy analysis here, but for years they would always talk about the team that loses the Super Bowl oftentimes struggles in that next season. I mean, one, you just play longer.
Right.
And when they talk about an 18-game potential season, that's one of the things I'm so worried about is like, how do you even get to the end with that many games? But
Like 2 or 3 more games, and
yeah,
then the 49ers not just making the Super Bowl last year, they played in the NFC Championship, I think 3 years in a row. So, I mean, it's 3 years in a row that they're playing all these extra games. So, I mean, I think there's just naturally going to be a letdown at some point as well.
I think that's why the late 1980s Bills should be considered, or into the early 90s should be considered a dynasty, because to go to 4 in a row, even if you lost all of them, is pretty remarkable. So you're right. Bears are definitely catching them at the right time, if you weren't also just firing your coach. So although that all leads to a little
That's
boost.
interesting, though. Yeah, they're the buzzword this week is the interim coach boost. Like the line actually went up towards the Bears 2.5 points after Eberflus got fired. So I guess that's a real thing that's measurable. That teams who fire their coach, the interim the next week, they apparently there's a little boost coming their way. So all these things are definitely lining up in the Bears' favor towards this game. What do we really expect? I mean, the 49ers defense is not some formidable defense that you kind of expected. I mean, in the last few weeks, they've been 35, 38, 20, 23, 30, 28, 36, right?
And their offense hasn't been putting up points either.
Right. And the offense hasn't been great. Brock Purdy's been okay, but their weapons aren't there. And it's just it's a gettable game. The Bears are going to have to figure out how to start out fast. Okay. Not get in the hole. And just try to make the right plays in the fourth quarter to win the game. I mean, that Detroit game, as much as it's obviously on Eberflus, right? Like there was a lot that did not go the Bears' way that last drive. That was a reflection of the players too, and not just the coaching. So it's all got to be moving in the same direction to get this win on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as you said before, it's not fair to say like that this is just a neutral audition for Thomas Brown, with the scenario as it stands. But it does make you think and wonder, how much of a difference does the voice make, or does the message or the method of your message matter? Because on paper, we thought this was a talented team, the Bears I'm talking about, capable of making a playoff push, or at least being in the legit hunt, which they no longer are.
Yeah.
But that's the talent that we think they have. And if he can do anything to get that to come forward, and now you do just happen to go up against a team that they're kind of on the other end of this, where they know they have it, but injury after injury after injury, and you have a star coach who people are now saying, is he on the trading block or blah, blah, blah. So best time the Bears possibly could catch him, I think. I have some thoughts here, Bob, on how I think this might go. But you know what? I looked at our UFFL schedule. You know who you're playing this week?
Is it you guys? Yeah. Well, I just got eliminated for the playoffs last week. So, I mean,
Did you really?
I'm going to pack it. No, I did get eliminated for the playoffs. But, of course, I'm going to play. I'm still alive. And I got
you have top points
championship this week, and I'm still in King of the Hill. So,
you have top points overall. If you really
top points overall, and I'm going to miss the playoffs. I mean, whatever. We don't have to get too much. But, yeah.
We digress.
Yeah.
But my point is, I may be telling the truth, or maybe I'm lying to you for competitive advantage. I don't know. I'm a bit of a sucker. It's hard for me to look at Bears games objectively. I will admit that. But due to a lot of the things we just said, looking at this is not the 49ers that you thought you were playing when you saw the schedule come out way back when. They've only scored, the 49ers, 10 points in back-to-back games. And as you pointed out, given up over 30 in back-to-back games. And whatever you want to say about the Bears on your schedule, the Bears have consistently shown to play close games, because they've lost 6 in a row, but their point differential is still positive. And I definitely think the Bears can keep it close. But I actually think the Bears can win this game. And partly is I just think the 49ers are crumbling. And to lose McCaffrey after you already didn't have him for so long is pretty demoralizing. Not sure if Bosa will play, but if a guy like that's not playing, that can only help. But I have the Bears winning. I have them actually putting up some points this week. So I'm going to go Bears 27, 49ers 17.
Oh, all right. Pretty convincing win. Love to hear that. Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, the Bears absolutely can compete in this game for all the reasons you said. And you can remember the last 3 weeks, this 3-game losing streak, but like the 3 teams, not just division players, but like I'm looking at power rankings. All three of these teams are in the top 6 of the NFL: Packers, Vikings, and Lions. Three of the top 4 teams in the NFC, and we took each of those to the last minute.
Last play.
Last play of the game, all 3 times. So we're right there. And, the Bears actually have a better point differential than the 49ers on the season. Like, there's arguments to be made that the Bears are, even with everything that's gone wrong with the Bears are a better team than the 49ers anyway. All that being said, it's been a common theme with the things I've been saying all the season. Show me first. You know what? Just show me first. The Vegas lines for this game is the 49ers are favored by 4, and it's an over-under of 43.5. I don't feel particularly strong about any of those numbers. If any of those numbers I'm leaning, it is the Bears +4. But Bears going on the road, I'm just not going to pick them to win until they show me that they can win again. So I have the San Francisco 49ers 22, Bears 21.
Wow. And I didn't look at the line, and you said the over-under is 43.5?
So you had right
at 44, and you have it at 43.
Yeah.
So, but I could be lying, right?
Yeah. We'll find out.
We'll find out. So, whatever the case is, it's going to be must-watch TV because, the Bears might not be now making a playoff push, but you really do want to see, do they look drastically different under Thomas Brown's leadership? And if so, that will have to factor into the bigger decision of who replaces Matt Eberflus long-term.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point before, you shouldn't put everything in that. This still should be a thorough search.
Right. And just another thing to kind of throw out there, where we've been a Bears fan the last couple of years, this is not a tank for a draft pick situation. We've got to show, 1, that we can play on the field, but 2, this draft coming up this year is not a top-heavy draft. They've said that only one player, Travis Hunter out of Colorado, would have been drafted in the top 10 last year. Wow. And that all the players ranked from number 2 to 18 are like interchangeable. So like whether we're drafting 9 or 16, we're going to get the same caliber prospect at that. So this is definitely not a tank situation. Every team can win. We've already locked up a last place schedule for next year. So let's just go out and compete and win as much as we can for the rest of the year.
Wow. Awesome point. Very good point to bring up because I think, to one of our news or noise things, you still want to see Caleb Williams peaking as we exit this season. And that, of course, could come in losing 33-32 every week, but that's if you're thinking from the draft pick standpoint, which is not necessarily the way they should be thinking.
They got to learn to win. They got to.
You'll lose your Jalen Johnsons, your DJ Moores. You'll lose those guys. So all right.
Awesome. Great
job, Bob.
Yeah. Hey, you guys out there still listening, thanks for staying this long. We'll make sure that you like the video and subscribe if you're not already. All right. That really does help the channel.
Bear down.
Claws up.
Claws up.